What are some of your pro tips for any veteran out there looking to start a company, whether it's a resource that you plugged into or a better benefit that really helped you out?
For sure. So GI Bill is like an incredible tool, just because it kind of gives you a little bit of space, and you got to be strategic about kind of how you use it. But I think what's hard for a lot of people transitioning is they're like, what do I do next? I had this conception of my life prior, and now I got to figure out some new version of this. So doing something where you're bettering yourself, you're improving your hireability, or whatever while you're in school, but also kind of giving you that little bit of buffer time to figure out what you want to do. That was super impactful for me. I also got involved with a lot of like incubators. Bunker Labs was one of them that I used, and they were awesome.
Industry. Oh fuck, we had a prolific figure in 7th group for a long time, and he used to go down south and say that his name was Pancho Liner. And like years later, I mean, and this dude's like legit, like old school dude. So like years later, I'm down there and I hear that, and it's like, you know Pancho Liner? I'm like, I don't know. Who the fuck goes down here and says their name is Pancho Liner? Well,
Married to Whoopi.
Yep. I dare not say the real man's name. It's a real individual. He's like I said, a prolific guy. But yeah, Pancho Liner, the story, the myth, it lives on, my friends.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's so funny. So I didn't know you were in 7th Special Forces.
Yep.
Nice.
Yes,
dude.
sir. Yeah.
Cool. How long have you been podcasting? You kind of got into this.
Yeah,
a while
dude. I found myself in troubled waters, as they say. I went through a really rough patch. But before I got help, I did what a lot of guys do, which is kind of just find your people and kind of just like you text and you talk and you hyper focus on each other and you try to keep each other afloat. And in the paratrooper world, we call little groups of paratrooper LGOP. So we formed our little LGOP. And before, after a while, we're like, you know what? We're saying shit that makes sense to us. We're keeping each other in the fight. Why don't we start a podcast? And we started Security Halt Podcast. Myself, Greg, and Paul. We just started putting our brand of humor, of poop and cum jokes out there, and in between, we interject with some of the shit that we were going through, and it resonated with people. But that's never enough to really get you healthy. Eventually, we all had to get help, and I was the first one to go inpatient. Went to inpatient, and that was really like the nexus point that really got me to like start getting help, because you have to advocate for yourself. But when you're suicidal and you're willing to do something stupid, you're not really advocating for yourself. And the first step, the first moment of true vulnerability, was asking my therapist at the time for actual like help. I talk about it all the time. And that was like the first thing, getting to Laurel Ridge. Shout out to Laurel Ridge. I recently just had someone hit me up today about it. Great inpatient treatment center. And that's what literally, I always say it saved my life. And after I got better and onto more follow-on care, more treatment centers, I started taking this seriously, because I realized it could be a powerful voice for those that are still struggling. Because when I was at my worst, I was looking for another Green Beret. I was looking for somebody else to say, hey, Chief, you're not doing good. Take a knee. Everybody deserves to get help. So I realized, like, okay, it's not that there are bad people out there. It's just that everybody's suffering and fighting their own battles. And sometimes one of the worst things, one of the most painful things, is acknowledging it and recognizing it and reaching out, because deep down you're also struggling. So all that bitterness and anger really quickly dissipated when I realized, man, everybody's going through their shit. I mean,
totally.
You desperately want somebody to be there, but in order for somebody to hold space for you, they got to be healthy. And that's something I realized we don't really have a lot of. We have a lot of people focused on the mission. And a lot of times you want to help others before you deal with your own shit. So I realized that I could advocate and help others through this platform. And I've been bringing on great Americans, wonderful healers, researchers, scientists. But really, the most impactful thing is the stories of the guys with the lived experience, a journey of transition, a journey from going out of their comfort zone and finding their own healing modalities that help them. because then guys can realize, oh, if he can do it, if Jordan can do it, then I can do it.
Right.
If they can all do it, well, fuck them. I know I can do it too.
Totally. I think part of that also is like, you know, you normalizing just an atmosphere where, you know, people can talk and go and seek help because, you know, I mean, it's kind of a trite point at this point, but, you know, coming from these communities where it's like, you don't want to, your reputation is everything. You don't want to show weakness, you know, you don't want to be seen as that guy. And, you know, so that kind of, you resist going out and seeking your own help because of what the implications of that are. So part of what the mission of just doing all this stuff is just sort of like, I want to get to a point, and, you know, it sounds like you probably as well, where it was like, oh my God, another veteran wellness thing. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's so ubiquitous and it's so like, you know, it just is the standard. Right now, it's like we're advocating for a thing that's starting to get there, but is not there, you know? So, you know, you're doing God's work, man.
Oh yeah. I think it's, once we get out, everybody starts finding and going through the same journey. I think it's just, I want more people to find it while they're in, because the reality is we need soft professionals in the job. We need Rangers, we need SEALs, we need Green Berets, and the guys that are in that senior leadership role, we need those guys in to get healthy, to get better, so they can mentor to the next wave of guys, because that's the important thing. Like, I'm not saying that the younger guys don't need help too, but the reality is you need your SAR majors, your senior EH, senior E7.
Leadership.
Exactly. So we can mentor those war fighters, the next generation. Because let me tell you, I've been seeing a lot of drone warfare, and I don't want to teach those guys how to combat that shit. I need my brothers to stay in and be able to teach these dudes. Because every time I turn on social media or TV, I see some more horrible shit. I would
nightmare fuel.
Dude, I would rather fight the Taliban for another 30, 40 years than
100%.
These drones, dude.
100%. I know it's really scary. And trench warfare with drones and the state of conflict and just sort of tomorrow's wars are going to be this awful mix of like automation, autonomous, you know, technologies, and just like meat grinding.
Bro, did you hear about Mossad this today and what they did?
No, tell me.
Oh, this is a great one. I got to throw this out. That means I got to bump this and put it out earlier. But Mossad, those bastards are so good. They figured out that I forget who it was. Hezbollah. Yeah, they don't use normal comms. They don't use cell phones. They don't use landlines. They're using pagers. So they found the manufacturer, and they were able to weaponize all of their pagers, and there was a mass page that went off today, and some like 40 to 50 dudes.
Oh my God, no way.
Disintegrated.
That's nuts. They're scary, Mossad. They'll get you like where you least expect it. Bro,
can you imagine just sitting there getting your beeps, just saying, "You're cooked, motherfucker."
80085. What is that? Who's that?
What is this? Boobs?
Boobs? Who is boobs?
We just did an entire Security Halt episode in just one intro. Jordan Ryan, welcome to Security Halt Podcast.
He's here, baby.
Dude, I love connecting with our soft veterans, our everyday veterans, everybody. But the thing that I find where you the Venn diagram describes like what I was looking for is entrepreneur, veteran, and somebody that's in doing something new. Coffee companies are out there. Coffees are great, but adaptogen coffees. Now you got me peaked, my man. Because we tend to think psilocybin. We tend to think, which is one of the greatest things. Shout out to every soft guy that I connected with this past week at the Strongholds event. Everybody was so hungry for psychedelic medicine, plant medicine, and psilocybin, but it wasn't from the everybody hears that and their narrative quickly shifts to people that just want to get high. No, every one of these guys was like, I've heard, they were well informed. They understood the efficacy and the medicine behind it. And one guy that was asking amazing questions. And dude, Jordan, today I want to ask you, how did you find yourself in this space? And what was your journey coming out of the military, my man?
Totally. Yeah. So, my kind of search into holistic wellness and, medicine began while I was in the military. So, I was a corpsman, I was a medic. I
Nice.
worked with Recon and MARSOC over at 1st Raider Battalion. And before that, I joined the Navy, went to BUDS, went through, some of SEAL training, washed out, went to the fleet, did my time, and then I freaking, dug deep and got back into the soft community, and,
Oh,
just a bit of a roller coaster there. And, then I had a really bad back injury that kind of sidelines my career in special operations, and ultimately got me separated from the military. But while I was kind of searching for treatment, I was trained as a medic, and so coming from this very like Western medical background, I and really trying to like get better so I can get back to my job and do
yeah,
all this stuff. I was managing my care. We were doing injections and surgeries and physical therapy and medications and a whole host of everything that is traditionally associated with like Western healthcare. And at some point, it kind of occurred to me that like, hey, there may not be like a better, like broken or better. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
may have some version of what you're dealing with for the rest of your life. And if that's the case, is this how you want to live? Like just shoveling pills in your mouth and going in and getting injections and surgeries and all that stuff? So it was trying to figure out like, okay, cool, what is a more sustainable way of managing anxiety, pain, sleeping like shit, all of these things. And then on top of that, all the psychological impacts of you're losing your job, your
yeah,
identity is tied into your job, you're losing your community, you're losing the respect that your community had for you, the reputation that you worked so hard to build as like a guy who's good and capable and smart and a go-getter, dependable. The Sarks are supposed to be like the guys that the Marines look up to,
yep.
because you typically a little bit older, you're coming from, you're their doc. So feeling like I was losing all of that was just like really psychologically difficult to kind of deal with. And so my first kind of foray was looking into cannabis, so CBD specifically. I was obviously familiar with THC. I went to University of Oregon for my undergrad, so mushrooms and weed were well researched up there. Let's just say.
Jordan, what do you think about the strain? It's mad decent. Mad decent. Give
They
it a
call that
check
shit
mark.
gas. Cat Williams. So funny. I got shit to do today. But obviously I couldn't use any THC products, and I remember just like at that time being so like frustrated by that, because like you could know going into it you're not going to be using any THC products. But I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, here I am, broken, right? Or like I'm injured, I'm trying to deal with this thing. Friday night, I just want to sit on my couch and watch a movie and get my heat pack on and like do my thing, eat an edible and like relax. I could lose my job. I can lose all my benefits. I could like really screw myself over if I did that. But if I wanted to go out to a shore club and, just get shit faced and, kind of do that whole thing, like it's a little bit more accepted. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't lose my job. Maybe if I got in a fight or a DUI or something, there'd be like some, consequences associated, but not in the same way this. So I remember feeling like this is really stupid and frustrating, but I hadn't really explored CBD, so I was like, let me look into that. And I started taking some CBD products and was getting a lot of benefit regarding sleep, anxiety. I was using topicals that were like helping kind of like with my muscle spasms and stuff like that. And this was before they made a rule against CBD. And my theory, and like I don't 100% know that this is the case, but this is my theory on that. I think what was happening where guys were pissing hot, And they would be like, oh man, it must be that CBD I'm taking,
Yeah.
because it's technically possible. There's like a limit on like the THC
Yeah.
is 0.3%, whatever. So it's technically possible. And that was kind of like a caveat. They're like, well, I promise I wasn't using weed. I was just using CBD. They're not going to go and revise the Department of Transportation 12-bar panel drug test so that includes CBD on there. So they just made a rule. They're like, all right, wise ass, you think that you're being clever. Now CBD's illegal too. So if you do CBD and that's your excuse, you still broke the rules, and that's the case. But in any case, I had explored that, was getting benefit, and I was like, this is great. But the tinctures that I was taking, they kind of tasted like shit. I still had to remember to take them. It was like it'd sit in my medicine cabinet. And I was like, dude, I wish there was just like a way I could seamlessly integrate this into my like daily routine that I was already doing.
Yeah.
That
If only
didn't need a
there's
memory.
one thing that we all drink every morning in the afternoon. If only there was one thing. What could it be, Jordan?
I'd really like really wrestle with that one for a while. And I was like, dude, coffee's of shit. And there's already this like associated kind of like, I mean, the world's wars are fueled on nicotine and caffeine.
Absolutely, so, dude. Absolutely.
I'm like, this is there's already this sort of like component there, because what I'm trying to do is advocate, educate, and create products that like my community would be interested in and want to try. Yeah. And so that was that. And then I got into like surf therapy, which kind of like leads into it. But I'll let you kind of, if you have other questions, or I'll let you kind of direct me.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're crushing it, man. You're bringing everything out there. No, you're 100% correct. I think our journeys are so friggin' similar. Like the idea, like I don't want to say this is not a derogatory comment. I'm not saying we're better than anybody, but I think we're a little bit more better equipped at pushing away the notion that we should take 50 medications on a daily basis versus conventional veterans.
Sure, totally.
I feel that we are better equipped, and it doesn't mean all of us, but in this day and age, at least, we're better equipped, and I see a lot more soft guys pausing and asking, hey, do I have to take all this? Do I need to take all this? I think we're for the most part, we resist this idea that we have to be this wounded, broken veteran.
Totally.
We know what it's like to be operating at the 1% of the 1%. We want to be able to stay in the fight. And I think the greatest thing that we can all do when we're facing these medical issues, especially towards the end of our career, as guys are getting older, is being able to say like, wait, maybe I can tolerate some of this pain. Maybe I can back off on doing a couple of these things, because pain is pain. We're going to have it for the rest of our life. Right, discomfort's something that we have to understand is part of everyday life. But if I'm taking 50 fucking medications, what quality of life do I really have?
100%. And you're fighting the side effects of the medications with more medications, and dude, you're going down this rabbit hole. And I think what I would try to infuse into guys that are especially like these senior dudes that are dealing with that, is just trying to like open their aperture to see that there are more modalities, because the VA and like just like they hit you with like 3 things, dude. It's like that's it. Medications, surgeries and injections, and physical therapy. And the physical therapy is great. And, there's a place for all of these things. It's not like Western medicine bad, like go do, mushrooms and sound bath. But the idea that there are so many other modalities out there, like sound baths, for example. That was one thing I tried while I was in, which was really nice. Interesting, super like hippy dippy. You know what I mean? I don't know if your audience is familiar, if you are, but yeah, basically you're like you're kind of like a yoga studio room. Everyone's kind of laying down, and then someone comes by, and they have like these different like singing bowls and like different stuff, and like it's kind of like a meditation, but they're like doing this all over you, and you like mildly trip a little bit. You're not on anything. You're just laying in a room and listening to sound. But you start realizing that there's a lot of reality and our human physiology and health and stuff like that, we don't fully understand, like the power of resonance, the power of, community, connection, getting outside, connecting with nature. Like these are things that like people kind of get, but they kind of like view them more on like a placebo kind of way. And maybe they are, but placebo is an incredible concept in its own right. It means that our bodies have the ability to create like material change in our bodies and in the world just through, the perception that things are that way. And that should kind of ding a light on to be like, oh, maybe I can look at, I don't have to just eat 50 pills, maybe there's something else out there that I can explore,
Yeah. And I want to steer our way now into that world of mushrooms. I think nowadays, if you're not on something that has turkey tail or lion's mane, you're not in the cool guy group. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I what's his face? Is it Paul Stamets?
Yeah, Stamets.
Yeah,
he's great,
dude. Great products. I did my own little bit of scientific research after stumbling upon him and reading all the benefits of it. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look at what these supplements can do when it comes to cognitive assistance, because we always think of nicotine and caffeine as our only go-tos to help us enhance our mood in the morning, help us enhance our attention span. But I got to tell you, like there's legit science and there's legit products out there that utilize various mushrooms to help you have that morning boost. I mean, hey, I'm not giving up my morning coffee, but I will tell you, there are blends of natural mushrooms out there that can help you with your concentration in the morning. I've been a big fan of it. I talk about it all the time. There's tons of stuff out there. How did you find yourself in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to comment on a couple things you said. So Paul Stamets, legend, the guy's, kind of like the godfather of, the functional mushroom world. And, he has this, they calls it like the Stamets stack.
Yep.
Have you heard of this? Yeah. So it's like, I believe lion's mane, psilocybin, and niacin, if I'm correct. And essentially so lion's mane has been shown to aid in neurogeneration. So we're like creating new brain cells, new nerve cells and stuff like that. They can actually like grow the casing of your nerves. It's like the mylar, mycelium, or something like that. I'm blanking. But anyway, and then what the psilocybin also like does aspects of that with your brain health, kind of creating new neurogenesis, neuroplasticity. And then the niacin flushes all of these out into the distal regions of your body. So, if you're losing sensation in your fingers, stuff like that. I think, so lion's mane is just like one of the best for cognitive function, memory, brain support, neurogeneration, all that stuff we were just talking about. And I think especially for guys in the soft community or just military in general, TBI is such a common traumatic brain injury. Just being proximal to blast trauma, and they're even so they have all these like charts and stuff. Okay, like for this much concussion, you got to be this far away, blah blah blah. But a lot of that stuff doesn't factor it take into account like the overpressure of the building that you're in, stuff like that. And then there was a guy recently. He was an Army veteran, like National Guard, didn't deploy. He worked stateside on the hand grenade range. That's what he did. Okay. He like kind of went crazy at some point and killed a bunch of people. And either he told them to do this or they just did it, but they did like the cross section of his brain, took a look at that, and they found that he had like CTE. He had traumatic brain injury, likely from the military, and he didn't, and so if that was the correlation and that was actually like contributing to, what happened, then it kind of rewrites the chart on, what is safe blast exposure. It's
RHI now. That's the new term. We use subconcussive trauma, but repeated head impact. I'll pause right now. Quick shout outs for the other show I produce, Broken Brains podcast with Bruce Parkman. It is the only podcast that has the scientists, the researchers, and the advocates coming on to talk about the impact of repeated head injuries. This is a podcast that is seriously on the leading edge, bringing you the absolute best individuals in this field. I mean, Dr. Ann McKee from Boston University, who leads and directs the Center for Alzheimer's Research. These are individuals that are impactful. And the reason why you need to listen to it is because 90% of the audience is either, veteran, active duty, or first responders. Yeah, we are people of service. We are people that put our bodies and brains on the line. And you need to understand that there are things you can do right now to help with that neuroinflammation. But if you don't have the information, if you don't have the data, then you're just out there trying different things. So please take a moment, go to the episode description, hit that link to go check out Broken Brains podcast of Bruce Parkman. I tell you right now, I have become a better advocate by being able to sit in and, produce this show and be able to learn. But one of the greatest things I've learned is the damage and the issue doesn't start in the military. It starts when we were kids.
Totally.
When we're playing football, when we're playing 100%. Soccer. And I didn't realize that. Exactly. Those are things I didn't realize until I sat down there. Yeah. And the other thing, it's incredibly informative, very entertaining, and you're getting information straight from individuals that have been studying this from
that's amazing.
The get-go.
I had no idea about this podcast, but I'm gonna send it to a lot of people that I know as well, because that's something I'd say that's probably people kind of they think about transitioning veterans or whatever, and PTSD, PTSD. Yeah. I think TBI is going to be the silent kind of where we look back and be like, oh shit, PTSD was this big.
Well, that's the thing, Jordan, that a lot of people don't understand. I didn't understand it until I was going through my own journey. So PTSD and traumatic brain injuries, if you're looking at it with the Venn diagram, they interlap, they interconnect, and there's all these symptoms, and that the VA is very smart. You don't want to say that you have a traumatic brain injury, because your brain is going to heal to a certain degree. The more, depending on the person, you can get back a lot of your skills. I've seen individuals that had problems talking through an iPad, having mobility issues, having to wear sunglasses, and they're able to rebound. And, shout out to those individuals. I don't want to say their names, but a lot of those individuals are now, one of them's a cop now. No shit. Individual that was barely able to talk and had to use a computer assisted device, had to always wear sunglasses indoors. Now he's walking, talking, and now he's a first responder. Talk about an amazing journey.
That's amazing, dude.
That's a testament to the things that we can recover from. It's not a death sentence if you're able to get help. So that's the thing that I always want. And we already know now, it's openly been put out there. The signature injury of the GWAT era is traumatic brain injury.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go. And it happens to all of us, our infantrymen, our mortarmen, and like you said earlier with that case study, even guys back home, because we do the most of our issues come from the training that we do. You're not going to shoot. Well, maybe at the height of the GWAT, maybe at the height of the GWAT. There were some dudes shooting a lot of AT4s and a fucking Carl G's, but
the Carl G's, man.
I've heard Ranger Regiment guys are like, hey, private, we still have a whole pallet load of AT4s. Nobody's going home till they're all gone. Dude just sit there eating blasts for 7 hours, and then they go back to the barracks and nobody's checking in on him.
Oh my god! My buddy who was 18 Delta, but it's a SOC. I'm using a SEAL, but he was telling me that there's something you're only supposed to be doing, or after a Carl G, that you should go sleep for a few days. So, you know what I mean? You should go rest and recover for 5 days, because it's even just a single shot is a real concussion that you just gave yourself.
Yeah.
But so back to Lions, man, that's one where it has real tangible benefits, and maybe not right now. Maybe you can still talk. You don't realize you have some of these things, but as you get older, the impacts that your brain has sustained from your time in the service as you get older, that's when you're really going to start experiencing the symptoms of it. So, making that connection now and taking in the intervention steps, because all things, and functional Western way, you're not going to get a benefit by taking it one time. You got to sustain this. It's got to kind of continuously be in you, and then your body can use it and get the benefits to where it needs.
Is that what kind of like led you to think of this, you know, have that eureka moment of putting these powerful mushrooms in a coffee?
Yeah, well, really, it was the first kind of reasoning behind it was this convenience factor, or just like saying, you know, like I have, you know, vitamin D, vitamin B, I have all these vitamins, you know, magnesium. Remind me, I should probably go take that today. You know, like there's stuff that like, you know, you read, you do the research, you do all this like hard work, you know, to like figure out like what you shouldn't want. You know, you're taking ownership of your health, and then you know, and you go and you buy it, and you know, hopefully you got a good brand, and you research all that, and then like you forget to take it. And so really, it was the you know, the first motivation was just like, I need zero reminder in the morning to wake up and go drink coffee. It's like the first thing that like you know, as soon as my feet are on the ground, I'm like, coffee, you know. So I'm like, that's kind of the motivation. But what I started realizing after, when, you know, we started getting customers and people were buying and they were trying this stuff, is that it was actually improving the experience that they had with caffeine. So maybe they weren't coming for anxiety support, or, you know, brain support, or whatever the case is. But what they were experiencing was, hey, when I drink this, I don't feel like as jittery, you know, like I don't feel, because, you know, caffeine is a stimulant. It, you know, creates like spikes in cortisol, a little bit of adrenaline. You know, that's why you're kind of like in the zone, but you're not running from anything. Caffeine is actually a really good physical performance enhancer. Like guys will use it, you know, before they go run like a race and stuff like that. But so you're taking, you know, pre-workout basically and sitting at a desk, you know, because you want your brain to be awake, but your body's like, you know. And so what we started like realizing is like, even beyond the like, hey, you know, functional mushrooms are medicinal and they're good for you, and this is all these other host of health benefits that you should take it, you know, it kind of like, hey, do you have discomfort drinking coffee? Do you wish that you could drink that 3 p.m. cup of coffee in the middle of the day and not feel like cracked out at 8 p.m. at night, you know, when you're like trying to wind down and get ready to go to bed? So it kind of just expanded our audience towards, and especially, you know, like I said, my first products were CBD infused coffee, kind of same deal. And once it became that like active duty guys couldn't use CBD products, you know, I had to kind of like adjust. Well, I can't just continuously go after a demographic that a job won't let them drink, you know. I did think of an ad campaign that was like, WINDANSEA Coffee. The government does not want you to drink this coffee.
Dude, I think it would work, but you'd have a lot of pissed off customers.
Yeah, 100%.
Dear Jordan, love the coffee.
Love the coffee.
Do you have any openings in your at your business? Because I'm gonna need a job in
I hope you're
4 to
hiring.
6 months.
We hire vets that got fired by drinking our product. Put it in my window.
Funny you ask. We have an internship.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pipeline.
Oh man, dude, how was it going through your transition too? Because that's another thing that I would imagine you probably didn't have this, or maybe you did. Did you have this idea already brewing before you transitioned, or did you have your exit and develop this in flight?
Yeah, I kind of developed it in flight because, you know, getting out, I probably would have not done a full 20 in the military anyway. It's just, you know, I like my freedom a little bit too much to 20 years.
Bro, we sorry to pause again.
No, man, of course.
Dude, that is such a powerful thing to know about yourself. And I tell that, and I want to honor this moment by letting guys know, if you're listening, there's nothing wrong with coming in, doing a few years, figuring out what you enjoy, getting some experience in life, and then getting out.
Totally.
Not everybody has to do 20 years. And that's like,
for sure.
So many people have this mentality when they mentor guys. It's like, oh, I'm mentoring my guys to do 20 plus years. It's like, or maybe they're doing 4 or 5 and you get the best dude ever. And then you help them on that transition. And I hate 100%. Seeing guys, even in special operations, I hate seeing guys that, and I get it. There's a negative connotation with, we just spent all this money, all this training on you, and you're only giving us 4 or 5 years. I'm like, yeah, but He gave you the best 4 or 5 years. He did everything.
Right.
You went to every school you sent him to.
Right.
Help the guy out on his transition.
100%.
Is that something that you
experienced? And if they want to retain you, then like that's on them, dude. Like, motivate me. Like, people respond to incentives. You know what I mean? Like, do you know how many guys I know that got out because they're some bureaucratic whatever the thing meant that they weren't going to get their 90K reenlistment, and then you know what I mean? And they're like, wait, what? Oh, but you did the STAR program and you got just some paperwork shit, and they're like, all right, well, I'm out. Deuces. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's kind of on you. And what that's not, I think, guilt tripping you into not leaving, or the other thing where they're like, it's really hard out there. Like, what are you going to do? You don't have any transferable skills, all of a sudden they kind of like scare you, or they try scaring you into that. But, talking about freedom, like one of the things that kind of gave me a huge appreciation for all jobs in the military. Like that, I think you kind of go into it, a little bit with your nose up, like, oh, special op, those are the best jobs. This is what we want to do. But you're like, dude, everyone is sacrificing. Like, everyone is missing birthdays. They're not home with their family, and they probably have a shittier deal than you do. You know what I mean? Like, they're in big Navy. They're doing that whole thing, and it's so anyway, it just gave me like a lot more appreciation for just like the sacrifices that everyone is making, kind of regardless of where you're at. But you asked me about the transition. So I got out a little bit earlier than I was maybe expecting. And coming from a medical background, I was like, oh, well, looks, I guess that's what I'll go do. Maybe go be a PA or something like that. And every time we would do like our hospital rotations or like do stuff like in the hospital, I liked medicine, but I really didn't like that work environment. Like, it's a bad place to work, dude. It's like, I mean, God bless people that, nurses, doctors, people that can go work there. But I was like, I hate it. I hate the way it smells. I hate the way it feels. I hate just being here. I hate that there's just McDonald's and Subway, and there's like our lunch options every day. I'm like,
everybody's dying.
Yeah. It's a sad, no one's like partying at the hospital. Like, where should we get married, honey? Like, how about the hospital?
Really bad vibes. Just really bad vibes.
Yeah. Just didn't like the vibes. So I said, fuck this.
Why is everybody in a hurry?
I'm going into business. Screw this. But that's kind of how it happened. And I was like, I had my bachelor's in finance, and kind of the irony of that whole thing was kind of what got me to join the military, is when I was looking at finance jobs, and I was like, ooh, like this is gonna suck. Like this, you know what I mean? Like, that sounds awful. So anyway, I was like, all right, well, I have the GI Bill. I can buy some time to figure out what I'm gonna do. Probably not going to go into medicine like a hospital route, maybe firefighting, or maybe this, or maybe all sorts of different ways. And I'm like, well, at the very least, like, I can think about this while I'm in grad school and they're paying me to think about it, right? Which, if anyone, shout out to anyone, dude, the GI Bill, vocational rehab, the best, absolute best, life changing. And if anyone ever has questions or anything, please just connect with me about that. While I was in grad school at USD, I was working as like a VA counselor to help people with their benefits.
No shit.
Yeah, dude. I love fucking beating systems and like just, like figuring out how to win. And I did it for myself, in a way that I'm like, I cannot shout it from the rooftops loud enough. Like, I just want everyone to know how amazing some of these programs are, and how they can really set you up for the next chapter of your life.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely be hitting you up after this. We're cool. I know myself, I've got a VRE cult going on with a lot of guys.
Dude. VRE is the best, man. I love it.
Any additional information is always great, because we're just, even now, we think you have it figured out. We've gotten everybody, their amazing MacBook laptops with everything they need. We've got them at like, we're finding out additional things you can do, because the counselor is not going to tell you the answers to the test. You have to go in there and explicitly ask certain things to get certain things. So
Which
After
is kind of
this, I'll
funny
definitely
about
pick your brain.
Voc Rehab. It's kind of funny that way about Voc Rehab because, like, yeah, you think that like the VA counselors, you know, who work in vocational rehab, they're like they're helping you do this, and like they're very much like a gatekeeper because I think it's such like a dope program that they're like, you know, we can't just give this to everybody. We need some people to like, you know. So yeah, it can be a little tricky sometimes, but like it's not that hard, and it is your right or like your entitlement, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think anyone needs to feel bad about it, but yeah, anyway, so I was doing that, so I'm in grad school, I'm getting my MBA, and I'm studying like what's my minor? It was a computer science, and then it was data analytics and finance, I guess. It was like, you know, like very like financially whatever. And I did a class that was like a new venture development lab, and it was all about there's a concept called the lean startup. It's like a book. You may have heard of it, but it's pretty much kind of like,
don't know what it means, but I've heard of it.
yeah. It's a framework for like how one can start up. Now, quickly, I'll just run it through like the case study. This is what it was built on. So, in 1999, there was a company called Pets.com. They built this website, right? It was all during the .com bubble.
Yeah.
So Pets.com, they were like, people hate buying dog food. They're going to want to buy it online. We're genius. So they sold this to like investors and blah, blah, blah. And they developed all this stuff. They put like multiple millions of dollars into building out the company, getting all this. And then they launch. No one wanted to buy pet food online. Completely busted. So what it kind of served as is like, you have to get to market. You got to start like iterating and experimenting on the fly. Like you cannot just wait until you have like the ta-da moment and you throw out your perfect company that everyone wants. You got to learn this shit. You got to be lean and you got to be agile. And you got to, you know, kind of respond on the fly. Very much kind of like special operations. Like that mindset is for sure there. So anyway, this class is, it culminates in you building your MVP, which is like a minimum viable product, and take it to market. And so that was kind of when I was like, dude, this is, you know, I had already been using CBD. I was kind of, you know, I was putting it in my coffee. I had no idea if I was like messing it up by, you know, doing that. It made my coffee taste worse. But I was like, what if I figured out, you know, combining these two things? And so I bought a coffee roaster, like a propane tank fueled coffee roaster, and was just experimenting out in my courtyard, like trying to figure out how to make all this stuff work. And so that was about into my second year of my MBA program. So I did it 1 year. I was starting the second year. I took this class or whatever. And then I was like, well, shit, dude, once my MBA is over, I either have to live off of what I'm doing here, or I got to get a good job, you know, and figure that out. And then that's when I really started getting creative with the GI Bill as a means to sort of, you know, create the company and the life that I wanted. And it was like a little like incubator that I could survive in for a few years, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Like that's the type of story that I want more veterans to like live for themselves. Cause honestly, like I think some of the best ideas are coming from the veteran space. It just, you guys have to be willing to jump out and take that leap, be willing to do something daring and bold. That's not, it's not going to be comfortable. But in the long run, if you can continue, if you can innovate, if you can push yourself to the absolute max, you can live a life that's pretty rewarding, man. Looking at where you're at right now, like how has your day-to-day operations grown in the last few years?
Yeah, so you know it's been a slog. This has been the best year, you know, in our history, which has been great. 2020 was also an important year for us because you know, it was there's a lot of stimulus money and stuff for small businesses and grants and whatever, and I was able to utilize a lot of that to like really help develop our branding and kind of grow more presence, hire some help to do like contract out some of the stuff that I couldn't do myself, and so but initially it was primarily going direct to consumer online. So that was, you know, we want to sell bags of coffee and get subscribers, you know, and that we mail you stuff. And that's where the majority of our customers are that. But one thing you learn kind of by doing that is, dude, customer acquisition is expensive. It's really tough to, having a good story, a good product, and a website. You think like, oh, dude, I'm good. I'm golden. I just, just open up shop and the money starts rolling in. And it's not how it works. You have to drive. You are an island in the middle of the ocean that no one knows about. You got to put up signs and drive that traffic, and that's expensive. And then I got to convince Denny, and I got to convince you, and I got to convince you, and I got to convince you, and I got to sell you on all of the benefits of these things. That's just the nature of a direct to consumer building a brand. But 24 and into 2024, 2025, my focus has really been finding more wholesale opportunities. So now we're being served out of a couple different coffee shops and stuff. And now it's like they're getting foot traffic. Yeah, dude, it's great. It's actually been game changing and really sort of like breathed a little bit of new life into not just the B2B side, but also in our direct consumer. Because now you can take that money and, hey, let's get better copy. Let's go do a photo shoot. Let's go do some of the stuff. Let's do a giveaway. And podcasting, honestly, has been another kind of like end of last year into this year. And then I recently just started one too, just so I could kind of do the same thing you are, man. Just like get in the position where I can have conversations that I wouldn't have had elsewhere. I can learn. And it's a great tool for creating content, taking one long form piece of content, chopping it down and spreading it out through all your channels. Just a better, you try finding efficiencies in what you're doing, because, no one has time to go make TikTok videos and then make a LinkedIn post and then go do some Instagram and then go, if you can get economies of scale by doing all these things, that's been what I've kind of trying to figure out this year,
Yeah. Thing that's helped me a lot is automating everything through Buffer. Shout out to that $1 million company. They don't need the plug, but I will do it because it might help some people out. Yeah, man, Buffer. I don't do
tell me
shit
more about it
on these things. So basically I create all my, all these long form videos. I take that, chop it up, find the best and most hook worthy moments in the podcast, create all my reels, and then have, I'd give them my 1 through 10 Denny approved score rating of which one's the best. And then using my analytics from all my social media, I look at when to post or what time for each one of my channels. And then all that gets put into Buffer. So I upload the videos, the captions, everything on Buffer, and it'll automatically post. So if you see, like, if it shows that I'm online, the reality is, I hate to tell you guys, it's my Buffer account. Buffer's doing God's work.
What about your?
That's the only one I manage on my own. That was me. Look,
okay. I recognize that freckle anywhere.
Speaking of OnlyFans, we are a small farm to table podcast, and we appreciate all you following. We just hit 10K. It was a sprint to get to 10K, and we did it. So to you listeners out there, for all you loyal followers, today and today only, head on to the link in bio, click our OnlyFans link, and enjoy a 48 hours free access to my feet pics.
Dude, you're so generous.
Now, don't get greedy. It's 48 hours, so enjoy. It's
more
such a
than
weird
enough
space,
time.
Man. Get in there. Get into while it's hot, folks.
Yeah,
I was just in Utah,
shit, dude.
Up in the mountains. My feet are all calloused. Get in there and enjoy them.
What were you doing out there?
Well, I had the pleasure of joining some of our soft professionals and helping co-lead. The latest Strongholds event, Stronghold 008, brought to you by the Best Defense Foundation. It was an absolute honor to be there. I filled in for a great friend to kind of co-lead this event. You bring in great soft professionals out there for a week of rehabilitation, connection, and wellness. And at the end of it, you get to go do some great things. And then you leave and go home rejuvenated, ready to tackle the world with some new tools. And you realize that transition doesn't have to be scary. Tons of guys have done it before you. But here's the key. Here's the great kicker. You get to rub elbows with NFL players who, if you were like me growing up, you idolized friggin' John Elway, Shannon Sharp, Ed McCaffrey. All those dudes on the Broncos were like heroes to me. And I never thought in a million years I'd have anything in common. And here I am friggin' years later.
So awesome.
thanks to this amazing organization, I get to sit down with some Super Bowl winners and be able to sit down and talk with these guys and realize that transition sucks for everybody. Like when you're off the team, you're off the team. Very few NFL players have that the God-given ability to continue doing this for decades after decades, and then have that multi-million-dollar saved up, because a lot of NFL players are working players, and even if they win Super Bowls, they haven't been doing it for that long. And some of the stories, honestly, like interconnected with ours, where it's like, fuck, dude, like they didn't know they were dealing with repeated head impacts. They didn't, or the severity of it. And then you get these soft professionals talking, sharing their stories, and you realize like, oh shit, we all have a piece to the puzzle. And that's the other great thing about these events. Guys are there to get help and assistance, but at the same time, when you're sitting around the fire talking, you have a piece that might help somebody else. You might have come across a modality that helped you in your journey. So guys are leaving, they're interconnected, and they're leaving with hope. So you have Green Berets, Navy SEALs. We had our first MARSOC Raider out there this time.
Nice.
So great to put them in there, and just being able to see everybody leave on such a, there were, some guys were here, others were here, and some were over here, but they all left with a lot more hope, happy, with clarity, knowing that like, oh shit, like I'm not alone, because I don't care if you're a regular service member or a conventional military or soft. As soon as you transition, you tell yourself, I'm broken, I'm alone, nobody wants to talk to me. Then they leave, they got a phone full of freaking new friends, and they're like, fuck yeah, I'm ready for this next chapter in life, man. So it's really good.
Another big component of my company at WINDANSEA Coffee is we want to be an engine for change in the veteran health space. You know what I mean? Like, and to do that, it's to link with, coordinate, and partner with other organizations that are really focusing on that mission and are approaching it from different angles. So an organization that we donate to is it's called One More Wave. They're based here in San Diego, and they're a surf therapy nonprofit. Surf therapy was something that was hugely impactful for me while I was recovering, dealing with all the stuff that I was talking about. And, it was really empowering to be able to get back into the ocean, which was something, coming from like a naval special operations background, the oceans are sanctuary. And, so to feel like I could still be there and I can still do something hard that, everyone on the beach, they can't surf out here, it's too big, or whatever the case is, so that was sort of empowering, but also, seeing how other people are dealing with various, injuries, amputations, and it gives you perspective to be like, wow, there's always something else out there. You're like, why am I feeling sorry for myself? When there's people dealing with bigger challenges, and maybe I have something to contribute to him, and maybe he has something to contribute to me. So anyway, partnering with organizations like that, doesn't need to be just surf therapy. It's a whole host of things, and trying to just bridge that gap and normalize talk therapy, sound therapy, plant medicine, all of these rehab through recreation. There's all the things that we've kind of mentioned that are very sustainable ways to get your life back. I didn't think I was going to be doing the things that I was doing while I was in the military. I thought some like little version of in my brain, I was like, dude, what if that was it? That was the peak. And now I'm just going to be this like scrawny little broke dick for the rest of my life. It's like in the back of your head, like that's, I'm getting swirlied at my job.
You fucking loser. You're nobody now. I'm still somebody. I'm still somebody, damn it. Oh my God, like,
that
dude.
Cannot happen. That cannot happen. So it's just there. It doesn't have to, dude. It really doesn't. It's like there's a road back for everybody, and it's just about finding those little guide stones along the way that can kind of point you to that.
Absolutely, brother. Real quick before I let you go, what are some of your pro tips for any veteran out there looking to start a company, whether it's a resource that you plugged into or a better benefit that really helped you out?
For sure. So I kind of mentioned earlier, but GI Bill is like an incredible tool, just because it kind of gives you a little bit of space, and you got to be strategic about kind of how you use it. But I think what's hard for a lot of people transitioning is they're like, what do I do next? I had this conception of my life prior, and now I got to figure out some new version of this. And the bills still got to get paid. So, doing something where you're bettering yourself, you're improving your hireability, or whatever while you're in school, but also kind of giving you that little bit of buffer time to figure out what you want to do. That was super impactful for me. I also got involved with a lot of incubators. Bunker Labs was one of them that I used, and they were awesome. They really just helped kind of connect me with more people. And you kind of realize, especially if you want to do your own thing, if you're trying to build a company, yep. You have to aggressively put yourself out there. Even you should network with things that you sometimes don't even think will be useful. Why would I go to that? I already have an idea of what that's going to be like in my head. It's going to be a waste of my time. Go waste it. You know what I mean? Because there might be one connection there that you do meet. And some of the best connections I had happened in weird instances where I was like, oh, well, good thing that happened. Otherwise that event would have sucked, or that wouldn't have been worth it, But you just kind of have to really, really put yourself out there. And because you will constantly find new people. Also podcasting, dude. I really think podcasting is a huge, huge tool. And I kind of had this idea that everyone is trying to broadcast. Everyone is trying to be Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, or these massive, massive pods. And that's the only way that you can necessarily monetize what you're doing. But just having been interviewed by a lot of people, on their podcast, and then now kind of starting my own, shout out Mind Body Mushroom, is looking at how it's a lead generation tool. You actually, especially if you're a coach, if you want to do some sort of thing like that, it gets you in front of somebody and lets you build very meaningful rapport and connection with this other human. And who do people buy things from? People that they know, and trust, and if they, how many podcasts do you listen to that you feel like everything about that host? That's your boy, and they don't even know you exist.
Exactly. I'm a huge fan of the Rosie O'Donnell podcast and the Whoopi Goldberg show. Just those are two of my favorites. I could just
Club Shay Shay. Did you hear about that shit? Shannon Sharp, no. So the football player. Oh my god!
Yeah.
So he has a podcast called Club Shay Shay, and I guess there was rumors or something. I didn't know about these rumors, but there was rumors going around that is Shannon Sharp gay? What what's the deal with that?
Yeah.
And so I guess very recently, accidentally went onto Instagram Live and was just laying pipe on
nice
there.
I'll show them. I'll show them how gay I am. I'm gonna have a live pornographic session on Instagram Live. That'll prove I'm not gay. Yeah.
Shout out Club Shay Shay.
That dude's beating boy guts like none other. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Anybody that does that, nah, dude, that dude was on 5,500 milligrams of fucking Viagra.
You've been hanging out with Diddy.
Nice try, Diddy.
Exactly.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. What's the name of the company?
Denny, it's been a pleasure, my brother. My company's called WINDANSEA Coffee. It's spelled WINDANSEA Coffee. Kind of spelled funny, but that's the name of the beach here in La Jolla.
Nice.
And my Instagram is at WINDANSEA Coffee. You can Google our YouTube channel. The website's windanseacoffee.com. I'm pretty easily reachable. If you shoot out on direct message me any there, shoot me an email if you have any questions. Even if you want to try a sample of something, you're like, hey, I'm interested. I hear about the stuff, like, you know, but I don't necessarily want to buy yet. Like, yeah, dude, I'll send you a sample. I'd love anyone to you know,
hell yeah,
be confident in their purchase.
I would love to get a 365-day sample just so I know what it tastes like every morning.
One big bag. Dude,
that'd be some scam ass shit.
That's how it works. Dude, I want to make a discount code too for your audience. So let's go.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do this shit.
100%. So let's do what do you usually use as like your code?
Security Halt podcast. That'll do.
Yeah, why don't we just do Security Halt? We'll just do Security Halt. I'm sorry, I'm like leaning in. I'm just trying to like read it up there. So yeah, do at checkout, just type in Security Halt, one word, and we'll get you 25% off. Then you could throw it in the show notes or whatever.
25% off.
25%, my dog. Hell yeah.
Damn, fuck y'all. I'm using this. This
is
my code. I'm
sending. Well, you get some for free, Denny. I'm sending you your 365.
I need to know how it tastes every day for a year before I commit.
That makes sense. That makes total sense.
Man,
last thing, kind of about the flavor that you kind of just reminded me. You know, so there are a lot of other mushroom or adaptogen drinks or whatever out there, and so like kind of what makes Windansea products different. We use whole bean coffee, so it's infused whole bean. And we're really like mushroom coffee for coffee lovers. A lot of the other mushroom coffees out there are selling you on the benefits of the mushrooms, which are real and great. But, I don't want to hold my nose and slug something that sucks every morning. You know what I mean? Because it's going to make me feel good. Like, so that's really our approach. If you love coffee and you care about how it tastes and how it's sourced and all that shit, then we're the mushroom coffee for you. So Windansea Coffee, give me a Google and say what up.
Fuck yeah. And you heard it here right now. Security Halt is the code for 25% off. Get over there and get you some coffee with some adaptogens, you motherfuckers. I know you need it. You know you need it. So just go do it. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. And it was a fucking blast, dude. I've needed to laugh and get information out. And today was the perfect day. Absolutely. Please come back on the show. There's a million things we can talk about. But to all of you listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.